Hey, everybody, this is Linda Nicole Blair. You're listening to Misery Point Radio.
Welcome back. Thanks for hanging out again on Misery Point Radio. As always, I am absolutely honored that you considered me your least worst option to help you get through 1 hour of your miserable existence. I am totally down with being the last resort. Can't afford to be picky in these times, am I right? Well, luckily for you, I've got another badass guest lined up who's going to inject some personality, some positivity, and some inspiration into your life, even if it is against your will. And you know, we could all use a refreshing dose of positivity. Just saying. Today's guest is a good friend of mine. I first met her a few years back when she was recording her debut album Little Queenie at Monkey Trench Studios, which is owned and operated by Mr. Mike Herrera of MXPX. I was quote-unquote helping my friend Bradley the Wizard Miranda track some of her songs. I say helping, but really I was learning and getting in the way and basically being annoying. Anyway, during that time, I had started a schizophrenic show called On the Edge, and she ended up being a guest on that show twice, performing some of her songs live in studio and talking about all of her epic projects. And today, she returns to the show, albeit from a distance and albeit technically a different show, to talk about her newest epic project, her soon-to-be-published book about the prolific role that women have played in poetry and music throughout history, as well as the progress of her newest in-production album. It's always super fun for me to have my friends on, to catch up and bullshit about random stuff, and share their epic projects. So if you're a fan of rock, country, folk, Americana, and or women in history, then stick around for a super cool casual conversation and check out some music. So toss off those shit kickers, pour yourself a glass of Lynchburg lemonade, and get ready for piles of Americana awesomeness with singer, songwriter, and author Linda Nicole Blair. Check it out. All right, LNB, welcome back to the show. It's been a very long time.
Yes, it has been a very long time. Too long.
Too long, for sure. In fact, this is actually a new show. Well, not new to me, but new to you, because you were on the Edge a couple of times, and On the Edge kind of morphed into Misery Point Radio. So now you're on a brand new show. It's like a whole new thing.
That is really cool. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
So, are you like a brand new person to go along with the brand new show?
Am I a brand new person? One can only hope, but I suppose in the grand scheme of the cosmos, I'm brand newer compared to some. So we're gonna go with yes.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. You lost all your hair.
Well, it's still there. It's just kind of all pulled back, but you know, nature does take its course sometime too. So.
Is it still there? It looked like you cut it.
I did. I cut some of it. And okay. I'm getting a little shaggy, but you know, the headphones hide that pretty good. So
yeah. My hair is I'm not only getting shaggy, but I'm becoming grayer and grayer with every day. And I'm just not real happy about that because I am not ready to be gray. But on the other hand, it's oh, what the hell?
Well, you know, I say roll with it. You know, you be you. I believe that's the phrase. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, whatever. Speaking of whatever, because there's a lot of whatevers that you've got going on right now. Well, let's talk a little bit about what is going on with you right now during this crazy COVID stuff. What are you doing to pass the time and cope with all the madness?
Well, at the University of Washington, Tacoma, we're still, we're teaching, and everything went online. And I was very, very blessed and very lucky that I didn't have to scramble to try to get my classes online like a lot of my colleagues did, because I had already gone through the training to put classes on what we call Canvas. It's our online delivery system for university classes. And I did that training about 4 years ago, and I've been teaching online for about 4 years. So one of the classes that I was teaching this spring was already scheduled to be an online class. And I was also lucky enough to have the second class is the same course, but it was an in-person course. So all I had to do basically was copy the course from the one online course into the new, not done yet course. So now they're both online. So it was like, it was, I just felt like, wow. I mean, I really benefited in a way that a lot of my friends and colleagues didn't get to. So, I am very, sympathetic with all of their struggles, and, I'm here to help them in any way that I can. And, it had to be a shock to have to go, can you imagine that? Never teaching online to all of a sudden you had 2 weeks to get your classes online.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, oh my God. I just don't think I could have done it. So I have a lot of admiration for them. I think they've done an amazing job. So.
And what about on a personal level? I mean, are you taking this time to write some stuff? You got some new music you've been working on?
Yes. And so I'm teaching the 2 classes online. And then I'm also, we'll get to this later, I'm sure, but I'm trying to finish my book. And then I'm also, you're constantly, when you're a songwriter, you're constantly like thinking of stuff. So I've got some new songs in the mix, right? And some new stuff that I've been kind of thinking about. I haven't recorded anything yet, but I'm still, writing some new things, and just kind of following, how you write songs, don't you?
Yeah.
You write music. So you know what I mean when I say that you follow the thread. You just kind of, if you get it in your head and just like, okay, I'm going to like follow that dog and see where it goes. And if it looks good, then I'll keep going. And, but I also, a couple of, I guess about 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, I wrote a song about coronavirus. Oh. And I did it in I did a little live concert out on my deck.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. So tell us about the live concert out on your deck.
It was a mess. It was an absolute train wreck because I didn't know. I thought I was live, and I played for like an hour, and then I went, oh, I wasn't live. So I was supposed to go on at 3, and I didn't really go on till like 3:45 because I didn't understand that on the iPad, like on your iPhone, when you hit live, it just goes live. Well, if you do
like on Facebook Live.
Right. So Facebook Live on your phone, but on Facebook Live on the iPad, you have to hit this other little button. And I didn't know that. So I played for like an hour, and then I realized I wasn't live. So I pushed it again. I was like, oh, I'm live. And like people were like, we can't find you. We don't know where you are. What's going on? And I'm like, oh my God. So that was a train wreck.
So did you start over, or did you just?
Yeah, I just started over. I just, because I'd already gone through. My husband's like, well, you got an hour's worth of rehearsal you weren't looking for.
Yeah, there you go. You practice session.
God, So, I mean, I think maybe 10 people saw it. It was just such a mess. So I want to try that again. I want to do it again.
Well, when I saw the post that you were going to do a concert on your porch, I'm like, this has got to be a virtual thing, because I imagined you sitting on your porch with a bunch of strangers showing up at your house and you trying to keep them like 6 feet apart while you're performing. And I figured maybe that Mike would be out there as your bouncer or something, like enforcing the distance.
I wish. I mean, we don't live in a neighborhood like that, unfortunately. We don't have a lot of people that walk up and down the street. I mean, we've had more traffic since COVID because people like to get out and get their exercise, but generally speaking, we don't have a lot of people walking up and down the street.
Yeah.
We don't have a sidewalk,
Well, get one.
Have you been to my house?
I haven't been to your house.
So when all of this stuff goes away and we can actually live our lives again, you and Marcia should come over.
Oh,
That'd
hell
be
yeah.
fun.
That'd be awesome. We'll drink lots of wine.
Yeah. I know we can't promise that the food quality would be very good. I mean, I'm not going to cook for a chef, forget that shit.
Hey, did you figure out those plantain chips? I think I forgot to send you that.
No, you know what? We never did. And we wanted to get a food dryer. Not a food dryer, one of those fryer things.
Air fryer.
Air fryer, yeah. So we want to get one of those. We haven't done that yet, but we had heard that maybe that would work.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't get it to do in the oven.
I've got one. They're amazing. I stand behind them, and yeah,
okay.
I'm sure they will work. So, well,
What
there you go,
brand?
folks.
You have to tell me what brand you got.
I have goddamn, what the hell is that? I think it's a Ninja Foodie.
A Ninja Foodie. Okay.
Yeah, it's a combo pressure cooker air fryer, and that's what you get on Misery Point Radio, folks. You get home cooking tips. I bet you thought you were going to tune in and hear some music. No, we don't do that anymore.
Among other things, you get cooking tips. I like it.
Yeah, there you go, among other things. So, well, the last time I talked to you was, at least on the air, was a couple of years back, and you had just released No Limits.
Yeah.
So, and then I want to say that I believe that Songs for Unsung Women was in progress, but had either just started or was maybe getting ready to get off the ground. So where are we with that? Is that still a thing?
Well, Songs for Unsung Women was it was a project that went with a play from the University of Washington, Tacoma, right? And so I recorded it at Monkey Trench with Bradley, but it was all just guitar, and then John Perry played fiddle, and I think Jay played I think he played banjo or maybe mandolin on one of them. I can't remember.
Jay Allen? Yeah,
Jay Allen.
Okay.
But it never went any further than that. It was just kind of didn't really do much with it after that. And I don't think I don't even know. I guess they got mastered. I'm sure they got mastered, but they were just real sort of, just kind of low key. Not a lot of production, just really low key.
So it wasn't really intended to be a full-on project. It was your name associated specifically with it.
But I mean, there's a couple of songs on there that I wouldn't mind, doing something more with at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, just with that, because I like to write songs based on literature. I've got a song called Emily Misunderstood that's going to come out on my next CD if it ever gets finished with all this shit going on. But anyway, it's based on a short story by William Faulkner.
Okay.
And it's about this woman who lived in the South. It's called A Rose for Emily. The story is called A Rose for Emily, and it's about this woman named Emily who it's probably early 20th century, and it's obviously post Civil War, but it's in the Delta in Mississippi, and it's kind of about the fall of white Southern plantation owners, and sort of they've got a character in there that's kind of a carpetbagger, and he flirts with Emily and becomes her boyfriend, and then he disappears. And then what they find out is that Emily actually poisoned him because he said he was going to leave her. So she poisoned him. And then when she died, they broke down the door to her bedroom and they found his skeleton laying in the bed and a little gray hair next to the skeleton where she had been sleeping with him all those years. She slept with a dead body for years.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, so I wrote this song called Emily Misunderstood, and it hasn't been mastered yet, but that was kind of an interesting, because I kind of feel sorry for Emily. She was lonely, and I mean, not that I would ever sleep with a dead body, but but
hey, no judging. We're not judging you.
But she was lonely, and she was somewhat misunderstood by the town, and she was kind of isolated, and anyway. So that's one song that's on there. Cool.
And so as of right now, the last release that you had on an official level was No Limits, correct?
No, I had an EP that I released, Dancing on the Edge.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
Right.
I do remember now.
So
Yeah.
Dancing on the Edge, By Your Side, and Leaving Mississippi. Those were three that came out in 2018. And then Wait and See just came out. I've kind of been releasing singles as they got done. So I released Wait and See, Dangerous, Ready to Fly. There might have been one more and I can't think of what it was. And then I've got like 7 or 8 more that are just kind of sitting there. I haven't finished them yet.
Well, I think now is the perfect time to check out one of those newer songs. This one's called Dangerous.
Playmate, come out and play with me. I want you, can't you see? Under the apple tree, slide down the rain barrel into the cellar door, and we'll be jolly friends. It's midnight, you're standing outside my window. You hadn't been sleeping too sound. I gotta wonder if you really want me. Why do you need to sneak around? Say you wanna climb up here and see me. Say I just can't stay away. Well, here's a funny thing. I saw you with someone else today. Say you need some of my loving. Well, you're just gonna have to wait. 'Cause I'm feeling a little bit dangerous. Don't wanna break your heart. No, I want it on a plate. Say you can't live a day without me. Say you just don't wanna be alone. Well, your sweetness was all I ever needed. But now I know I'm not the only one. Hey, you need some of my loving. Well, you're just gonna have to wait. 'Cause I'm feeling a little bit dangerous. Don't wanna break your heart. No, I want it on a plate. I'm feeling dangerous.
So you're not recording currently at Monkey Trench. I mean, considering this stuff aside, but you really kind of started to transition into doing the recordings at home, correct? And then just having people come in, like having Brad Miranda come in and help you record on site. What was the deciding factor behind that?
Well, I think Mike Herrera had decided to, and thank you, Mike is amazing.
Yeah.
He's an inspiration to me on a lot of levels. His music, I didn't think I would like that kind of music, and the more I listen to it, I'm like, oh my God, he's so great. They're really good. Anyway, I think that Mike had decided to sort of reserve the studio for MXPX, and they do
Right.
a lot of their videos there. They do a lot of their work there. And so I think that he was kind of like, shifting the way they did business there. And so Brad said, well, you know what? I've got this portable recording studio. I'll just bring it to your house. And so that's what we started doing. And it's been fine. I love Monkey Trench. Did you know that place is haunted? Oh, Mike wouldn't like me to say that.
Well, yeah, it's funny you mention that because I had Brad on a couple months back with Kyle Miller. So they were,
Kyle.
yeah, and Kyle did some work with you as well, right?
Yeah, Kyle and Chris Atkins too.
Yeah, and good old Chris, yeah. So it's a small world here in Bremerton, Washington. Move to Bremerton. There's a song all about it. Check it out.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Kyle and Brad were on the show, and we kind of started joking because, you know, when I was hanging out over there with Brad quite a bit, there was always that talk of the dungeon down there. And I'd been down there a couple of times because I know that's where Mike stores all of his gear, or not all of it, but some of it.
Yeah.
And so Kyle had kind of made a joke about going down to the place where somebody died, and I was like, shut up. Like, they're like, no, really, there's like a suicide note down there or something. I'm like, well, this just took a nasty turn. I don't know where that came from, but yeah, apparently Monkey Trench is haunted by the ghost of somebody who met an unfun demise there. Now, sorry, Mike, I don't know how the details actually came about, but it's been put out there a couple of times at this point now, so I don't feel like we're breaking the story.
It's an urban myth now. It's a Bremerton urban myth. And I was in that, like in the main room where the big sound board was.
Yeah, in the
right?
control room.
Okay, so right down the hall, that other room that's at the end of the house.
Yep.
Okay. I was in there and I was going to play and sing some stuff. And Brad was like, okay, you go in here. He set me all up. And then he went back into the other room. And I swear to God, something touched me on the top of my head.
Yeah.
I swear to God. And I was like, something just touched me on the top of my head. And Brad's eyes got that big. He was like, no way. And I said, yes way. It happened.
And had you heard the quote unquote urban legend before that? Or
I had heard it. And I was like, oh, y'all are so full of shit. There's no ghosts in here. And
so you
sure
immediately
enough,
jumped to that. Yeah.
It touched me on the head. And I was like, yep. Yep, it's real.
Nice. Well, hey, you've had a paranormal experience at the most legendary studio in Kitsap County, so that's I don't know. I'm hearing a song in my head getting written about that. I'm just saying, no pressure, but
that's an idea. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Yeah, just saying. So you've done an EP, a couple of singles, and you had mentioned that you do have an album kind of in the process. Is that officially in the process, or is it still kind of tooling around in your head?
Well, there's some stuff that I recorded, and I know I drive Bradley crazy because I'll go, oh, I want to redo that. I can't help it. And so there's probably like, oh God, there are probably at least seven songs, maybe 6 songs. And even though I've released three of them already, or maybe 4 of them already, I would probably just put them all together on one album now. And I don't know what I'm going to call the album. I was thinking about calling it Dancing on the Edge, but maybe I'll call it By Your Side because that's another one of the songs.
Oh, cool.
I released already. I don't know. I have to think about it. Maybe I'll call it Dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cool name. Maybe you can call it The Haunted Trench.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
crazy.
don't know. I'll think about it. But anyway, so I'm just kind of working on some stuff. And, I also write poetry. And I was going through some of my stuff. You know how it is when you're alone and you get bored and you're like, maybe I should clean out my basement. And so I started going through some stuff and I found all these old poems I had written. I forgot about them. So I'm going to haul those puppies out and look to see if there's anything I can do with them as songs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if not, then I'll just, put them out there as poems.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? That's right? Become the question, I think, that everybody now who ever put off a project or whoever said, I don't have time to do this, or I don't have the means or the wherewithal, you know what, right now you've got it. So why not? Yeah. And I talk to a bunch of musicians. I talk to people every day, and they're all saying things like, I've been thinking about doing this for so long, and then all of a sudden I found myself with this time on my hands, and they all say the same thing. And then I went, what the hell? Why not? If there's ever going to be a better time to do the stuff that you've put off,
That's
right
right.
now is probably your chance to get caught up on all that. So
That's exactly
awesome.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And now you need to put together a book of your favorite recipes.
Oh my good golly. So speaking of the why nots, yeah, that's been a project that's been in the works for many, many years. And I think one of the things that as an artist is the stuff that you held as so close and so dear and so awesome. You have these sparks of inspiration that go through your mind, and you're like, I'm just going to fucking do this. And then when you get to it, you realize, yeah, that wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. So then you kind of start over, right? You get this new inspiration. You go, okay, that was cool. That was like a sketch. That was like a starting point. I'm going to do this now. So I think I've done that probably 20 or 30 times
That's
with
cool.
that project over the years. But yeah, one of these days it's going to be a thing for sure. I know I get a lot of requests for that.
You got to do it, man. I mean, think about all of the wonderful experience that the love and the experience and all of the stuff that you can put into that book.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. I'm one of these days I have to, prioritize my stuff, but it's funny that you bring that up because I've had this conversation now several times over the last couple of months for sure, as things have kind of gone in different directions. But
That'd be fun for you.
We're going to leave that door open.
I was also thinking about, I have a degree in piano. I have an undergraduate music degree and play the piano. And I just sort of got away from it because I went into literature. And so, I kind of went in a different path, and music has always been my first love.
Right.
But, I kind of had to think about what I'm going to do for a living. I got to make money at something. And I was thinking, okay, I could teach, right? And so, I went into and got carried away with the PhD and all that stuff. But anyway, so since this quarantine, I started playing the piano again.
Oh.
And started to sort of rediscover my intuitive love of music. So not reading notes, just fiddling around on the piano, just me, and thinking of melodies that I like. And I'm a big fan, obviously, of classical music. And
right.
Some of those melodies, they get stuck in your head. Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin. So Chopin and Debussy, right? The most beautiful singable melodies ever. And
all the stuff that the kids are listening to these days, basically.
Oh, I just love it so much. So, there's a lot of stuff that's in my in the back of my head that's now starting to sort of make its way back up here.
It's in your wheelhouse.
Right. And it's really fun. It's fun. So I'm going to start composing and writing music on the piano. And then using the guitar also, but starting with the piano instead of the guitar. Let's see what happens.
And for those of you out there in podcast listener land that aren't familiar with her material, I would say early on it was very Americana folk, but your progression has really taken kind of those Americana folk roots and really kind of started to get into more of a rock vibe almost, and kind of some more energetic stuff. Still got the really cool toned down acoustic mellow stuff, which I absolutely love. But how would you say that you've progressed as a musician since you started actually doing the recording?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was watching Rhiannon Giddens and Francesco Teresi, I think that's his name. I'm going to just butcher that. But anyway.
It's all right. They're not listening.
Yeah, well, if they do, sorry, Rhiannon. But anyway, I was watching the live performance from Dublin, Ireland. I think it was last night. And people were chatting with her, like live chat. And so it was like Facebook Live. And one little girl wrote to her, how long will it take me to learn how to play the banjo or the guitar or whatever as well as you do? And she just kind of laughed and she goes, you know what? As long as you are willing to be bad, you will be good. You just have to be willing to be bad at it for a while. And then you just get over that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the way I feel about my progression. Not that I don't think I mean, I'm not saying I was bad, like terrible, but I think that, when you start doing something and you expose yourself to that, and you play around with things and you just dive in and start taking a chance, you start learning a lot of things, right? I
Yeah.
learned a lot from Bradley, from you, from Jay, from everybody I've had contact with ever since I started playing the guitar. And I've learned so much about rhythm and tone and melody and, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, it just starts to have an effect on you. And, like I won't even look at old videos of myself from like 8 years ago. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so bad. That really was bad. But the way I look at it is at least I was up there. I was doing it, I wasn't afraid to be bad.
Yeah, well, no, I think they refer to it as failing up, right?
Yeah.
Which,
I mean,
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I did notice it was a while back, but I don't recall if I gave you a shout out on that or not. But I saw that on Bandcamp, some of your songs got really, really, really high ratings and
They
really
did?
excessive amounts of downloads. Yeah, I was like, wow,
They did?
you were rated like in the top of the Seattle area performer.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, no
Nuh-uh.
joke. I was like, holy crap, this is crazy. Yeah.
When did you see that? I didn't see that.
It was a while back. Yeah, it was a while back. I must admit that I've kind of fallen off following everything on Bandcamp because I can't keep up with it all anymore. But yeah, so clearly your progression has gotten you to the point where you're amassing a good amount of listeners and a good amount of downloads on your stuff. So that's pretty epic.
Well, you know what? It really makes me feel good to think that somebody out there likes anything that I put out there, because especially with music, if you're, music is very emotional for me. I mean, when I was like 5 years old, I might have told you this before, but my parents would take us to church and we had to sit on the front row. It called it big church because, the preacher is in there and all the big choir and everything. I was like 4 or 5 years old and my mother would take us in there and they would play the offertory music and I would start crying.
Yeah.
It just would wash over me. It was just like, all these feelings. And I didn't know what to do with them. I'm 4 years old, 5 years old. What do I do with that? And it would just come out. And my mother used to think I was sick or didn't feel good. And it was like, no, I'm just in like this blissful state. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah. Well, not only are you an absolutely epic, super talented musician.
Oh, goodness.
So let's talk about your book project.
Okay. Well, this is my second book. The first book that I did was about Virginia Woolf.
Oh, I do recall that.
Right.
Yep.
So that was my first, that book was kind of my, that's another passion of mine from when I went and got my PhD. I mean, that's what I wrote my dissertation about Virginia Woolf. So I've kind of carried a torch for Virginia Woolf for a long time. And so I was like, well, I think I'm going to write this book. I need to write it before I die. You don't know how much time you have left, right? I mean, it was just one of those things. So that was my first book. This book is about American poetry and Americana songs written by women. And It's sort of my tribute to and a commentary on the strength of women. And I call it Speaking Truth to Power through poetry and through music. And I want to, I wrote the book thinking that, okay, I want to explore this whole, this whole dynamic about how it is that women's language is kind of creating this discourse that's not like men's discourse. Discourse is, I don't know, that's kind of a specialized word, rhetoric and discourse. But it's more about, kind of the ideology that it creates and the way that people feel empowered by. So like take Brandi Carlile's The Joke. That song is so powerful because it speaks that truth to power. Like you can't put people down. right? Who are you all to judge another human being? You can't put people down. You can't make people feel bad like that, you know? So she's a real champion, not only for women's rights, but for human rights. So I kind of want to shine a light on that, and I want to talk about how important that is. And so you're going to start the book with Anne Bradstreet, who was a Puritan. She came to America in 1630, and she was really young. She was like 16, 17 years old. She was already married. So she started writing poetry that was in some ways conventional. And then she started to write more like personal poems about what it felt like to be a mother. She talked about the death of some of her children or grandchildren. I mean, it was very highly personal stuff, and people weren't used to that, you know? This is way too much detail. Sorry.
No, it's great.
But then, and then in that same chapter, I talk about Carlisle, because Carlisle is also a mother. You know, she's a wife, she's a mother, she's, you know, she has that role as well as being a musician, you know, as well as being an incredible songwriter. And so a lot of her songs are, you know, they're based on her experience as a woman, and she's speaking her truth about her experience, you know, to the world, talking about what it feels like to be a woman.
When you first conceived this project in your mind, was this always going to be a book, or was this kind of like a personal enrichment project?
Well, that's kind of weird. Okay, so about 5 years ago, I wrote a paper for a literature conference. So this is so nerdy, but this is what we do. And, you know, higher education, we're nerds. But anyway, I wrote this paper about Emily Dickinson and Lucinda Williams. And I was sort of comparing, you know, the what I call the revolutionary writing that Dickinson did with the way that Lucinda Williams is so earthy and down to earth, and she just tells it like it is, you know. And there's this one poem that Dickinson wrote at NBC's that parallels a song, an incredible comparison between a song that Lucinda Williams wrote about envying the sun and the rain because they were touching the skin of her loved one, you know. So I wrote this paper about that. And then this publishing company representative wrote me an email about 2 months later and said, "Hey, I heard that paper and we want to publish a book about that." And I was like, "Really?" So I probably wouldn't have taken it any further had it not been for, I mean, I loved the subject, but I didn't really have a book in mind. I was just writing a paper that I thought was interesting. And then when
so
Lexington,
somebody approached you based off them seeing something that you'd put out to the world.
Right. So, you know, this lady was at the conference and heard the paper. And a couple of months later, she was like, "Hey, you know, I heard that paper. I wondered if you're interested in turning that into a book." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah. So that was probably 2017. I mean, it takes a while, you know.
Yeah.
To do all the research and stuff.
I remembered you know, reaching out to me a while ago when you found out that this was actually kind of in the works. So where is it in progress now?
Well, I have, I've written the whole thing. I have a first rough draft, and the draft, the peer review manuscript is not actually due until the end of August. So I feel like I'm like 4 months ahead of where I should be, which is really, really good news.
Yeah.
So right now, and I've also done interviews. I did a lot of interviews in Nashville at Americana Fest with several singer-songwriters, female singer-songwriters. They were so wonderful to me there. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to be really upset if they have to cancel this year because of COVID. Oh. But anyway, so I got to do a lot of interviews there. I've been interviewing local female singer-songwriters as well, because I want to put their words into this book. This is really a tribute to women singer-songwriters and women female poets, you know.
Sure.
A lot of it is. But anyway, what was the question? I lost
How many
track
glasses
of the
of wine
question.
have you had already?
Oh, I lost track of the question.
Well, the
You were
question
asking me-
is, and the question
Oh,
was,
where am I in the
where
process?
where is it in the
Okay.
process? But it's cool because you
Yeah.
went down that road, which I was going to ask you next, which is, are you getting people involved and doing interviews and
Oh,
sourcing out? So clearly
definitely.
you've reached out to a good number of people. So on to the
Yeah.
question: where are you at? Where's the book in status wise?
So I've got the whole first draft is done, and now I'm going back and I'm revising it, and I'll probably revise it at least twice before I send it out as a manuscript to the publisher, because I have to have all of my ducks in a row. I mean, they don't want it if you don't have the permissions in place, if you don't have everything formatted correctly. They don't want to see it because that's too much work for them.
Sure.
And so I have to get everything right, and then I can send it to them. But I started reading over the introductory chapter, and to me, it is infinitely bad.
Oh no.
I just was like, "Wah." I mean, it's for me. I mean, when you're writing it, it's like it's flowing, and then you go back and you start reading the draft, and you're like, oh my God, that paragraph doesn't go there. I have to move that paragraph. Oh my God, that doesn't go there. So it's sort of like playing. It's like you're shifting things, you got a reorganization. It's a big reorganization. And, that's okay. It's part of the deal, but it's really hard.
And I also think, probably from your point of view, because you work in the education field, you're probably twice as critical about your own stuff, because now you're also approaching it from that standpoint, not just a bystander or a regular editor, but you're like, oh my God, look at this bad grammar, or look at this bad sentence structure, or look at this. So you're kind of taking a lot of that those elements of form that a lot of, like, editors are normally the ones that would go through and say, hey, look, let's do this, let's do that. You're doing that to yourself. So I can only imagine that the amount of steps that you're going through is probably twice as many as the average person.
I have to do it. I mean, I tend to be, when I'm writing a draft, it's like, it's really wordy, and some of it is just kind of all over the place. But that's just normal. I mean, everyone does that. Everyone does that. So
what is the anticipated, is there an anticipated release date? I mean, is the publishing, I guess I should ask you, who is the publishing company again?
It's Lexington Publishers, Lexington Books. It's part of Rowman Littlefield, and they're in Maryland. And so Maryland is shut down right now. They're under orders. No one's working. And I've been trying to contact my publisher, and they're just not there.
Yeah.
They're all,
so that right now they're not hounding you for draft updates and stuff like that.
No. I mean, I think that the last time I talked to my publisher, or my editor, she was really she sounded really encouraged by the fact that I was almost done with the first draft. So she was happy about that. But yeah, it's the anticipated publication is spring of next year.
Oh.
So if I can get the peer review manuscript to them earlier, then I can start editing according to what the peer reviewers say, and I can pull it all in line. And then it might come out earlier, but with COVID-19, who knows?
Sure,
I mean, everything is going to be delayed now because of that.
Yeah, everything's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
But the majority of the quote unquote content, like the backbone, the skeleton, that's all done. All there.
Yeah. I do need to add some interview stuff. And there's some sources that I want to use that I haven't put in there yet. And I have some things that I have left to say. Like, I haven't finished the conclusion yet. I still need to finish the conclusion, but most of it's there. So,
are any of the people that you talk to, are they going to be people that the average Joe or Jane is familiar with? Are there who some of the people that you've talked to on there?
Local people?
Sure, whoever.
Tammy Frost.
Oh, Tammy Frost Trio.
Tammy Frost. I talked to Tammy Frost. I had to put Tammy in there.
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to say their names in the podcast because I don't want to call them out and embarrass them to death, but there are a couple of other local women that I want to talk to. But I talked to a woman in Florida as well. Her name is Beth McKee, and she is she's one of my heroes. A lot of people might not have heard of her, but they should, because she is amazing. And she also started a foundation for women called Swamp Sisters. And the Swamp Sisters are a group of women, singers, songwriters, poets, artists, craft makers, you name it, chefs, anybody who has a heart of giving and helping the community. And they do events all through the year, and they help young artists and young musicians and families. I mean, they're always helping people. And so Beth kind of has she has a real heart for the healing side of music too. And she's just a fabulous musician. Her and her husband, they're amazing. So I got to talk to Beth. And then there's another young woman named Michaela Neller that people are going to start hearing more about. Michaela is amazing. She used to live in Seattle for a while. Her dad was in the Navy, and she lived in Seattle for a while. And then she moved to New York, and she lived there for like 10 years or whatever. And then she moved to Nashville. She's like, I've had it. I'm going for it. I'm going to do the music thing. She'd been singing her whole life, and she's like, I'm just going to go for it. And she she worked for a recording company for a while, and she watched what people were doing. And she has one of the most gentle, kind souls I've ever met. She's amazing. So she was like watching people and kind of taking notes and figuring out how to do this. And she just was like, I'm going for it. So now, like, she's opening for Marty Robbins. She's been to Scotland. She is like toured. She started this tour. She has a brand new CD out called Desert Dove. You got to listen to it. She's really, really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then Courtney Marie Andrews is another one that I'd like to talk to. I haven't gotten a way to talk to her yet because of this stupid virus. I mean, everything's so shut down.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll get to talk to her, but I know that she's from this area. She lived in Seattle for a while, I think. So I don't know. Oh, and the other one the other local musician that I've gotten to talk to is Leanne Trevelyan.
No.
Junkyard Jane.
Yeah.
So Leanne's a good friend of mine and was gracious enough to give me an interview. So I'm going to put Leanne's going to be featured in the book as well. So
no shortage of awesomeness. That's the moral of the story.
Well, I just want to, I could write volumes and volumes, right, on this topic. And I'm afraid of leaving anyone out. That's my biggest fear. I don't want to leave people out. I want to pull everybody in.
Well, whoever you leave out in round one, they just make their way into round two, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's just been a joy. The first book was more like an obligation. I mean, not that it wasn't good, but fun to write. But this one is like a joy for me. It's just,
well, the first one was born out of more or less an assignment or an obligation, right?
Yeah,
so this one is a complete passion project.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, who is it geared towards? Who do you think is going to be the audience that reads this?
Well, I think women, first of all.
Okay.
I would hope women would be really super interested in it. Anybody in literature people, music people in the music business. I'm very, very thankful to the Americana Music Association for their help, because they gave me a press pass last fall. They were so kind. They just flew open the doors. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And so, I have a lot of hope that they will be interested, that people, the Americana people will be interested in it. And, who knows? I mean, I would like for everyone to want to read it, but I think those are probably the main people.
Sure. So what's the goal of this book? What message are you hoping to get out with the release of this?
Just that, one of the sort of underlying goals that I have is to shine a light on the hard work that women have been doing in this country for 400 and something years. The work
Sure.
that they've done, not just music, not just poetry, but the everyday work of keeping families together and working, and not getting much recognition for a lot of that. And also, just kind of shining a light on the power of speaking truth to power, right? The empowerment that comes with that, and being unafraid to say the truth, even when people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
and being strong enough to come out and say what's real. And then, and the other thing that's really come out of this for me is that some of the things that Brandy Carlisle said at the Americana Fest about sisterhood, about us supporting each other rather than competing with each other as women. Everybody knows what that's like, right? Hey, that girl, she's not going to be better than me, kind of thing. And instead of being like that, is supporting each other and giving people a hand and a help, reaching out and helping each other and creating a network. So, there's a few things that I would like for people to get out of this. And yeah.
Once it's done, once it's out and it's been circulated to the world, do you plan on doing any kind of support for it? Little book tours
definitely.
or anything like that? Have you?
Yes, of course. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I mean, that'd be awesome to do a book tour. I have no idea what's going to happen. I've got to make sure that the book doesn't suck first.
Step one.
I don't want to let, of course, my publisher, they would never publish it if it wasn't any good. But, I want to make sure that it's as well written as possible and that it contains my heart, and the message that I'm trying to get across, and that it, it'll fall into the hands that it's supposed to fall into. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
The people that need to read it will read it. But yeah, book tour would be awesome.
I believe the phrase is, if you write it, they will come, right? That's the goal. So you've got more or less, we're looking at, a year, probably realistically, before we see this thing. So what is next for you? What's the next project that we'll probably see come to light with your name attached to it?
Well, my ongoing stuff is just to continue to write songs. So,
right.
I mean, I'll be 63 this summer, and I used to think that was old. And then I look around, and this is another thing. I look for examples of women who were doing awesome things at any age. And it's very encouraging to me to see people like, Bonnie Raitt. Good God, Lucinda Williams just released a brand new CD, and she's 4 years older than me. There's no such thing as too old. There is no such, I was going to say.
You were going to drop the F-bomb.
I was. There is no such thing as age when it comes to a passion. You can do whatever you want at any age. I mean, that you just have to believe that. You just got to go for it, Who cares?
Absolutely. What we were saying earlier, why not?
Yeah. I mean, God, I haven't gotten Lucinda's new album yet, but I'm going to have to say something about it in this book. So I need to get it.
Yeah. In the meantime, should we expect to see a few more singles come out of you? Should we expect to see maybe some more live stream style events?
Yes. And so every Sunday now I'm going to do, I don't know that I'm going to do live stuff necessarily, but I am going to make a YouTube video every Sunday afternoon. I'm going to sit down in my basement and make a YouTube video of a song. Some of these songs that I haven't been out there yet, just to get them out there. I mean, they may not be perfect, but I mean, it may be another year before I get to record anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going to happen. And I don't know how to use Pro Tools. That's the biggest. I don't know how to use Pro Tools. Ugh.
Yeah, 4 years in, I barely do as well. It's a beast for sure.
So it's hard. If it's hard for you, it's going to be harder for me because I don't.
Push and start and stop. That's the easy part. It's all the stuff that happens after the fact that.
Oh my God!
And you know what a wizard Brad is, and he learned all of that from Mike Herrera. So it's really, that's where the magic happens. But I do like the fact that you're going to do these YouTube videos. They're going to be raw. They're going to be real, right? This is not about pomp. This is just real, down to earth, in the moment stuff. And I think the authenticity right now is really what a lot of people are craving.
Well, it's just, it's just as real as it can be with the scratchy voice and the whole thing. And the other thing, did you see my COVID-19 video? Have you seen it?
I did.
Yet?
I saw it right before I got on. Yep.
Yeah.
It's on there.
Yeah. Cool. So I did that because I just, it was in my head, and I was just like, well, I'm going to write this song, and because I want to, and it felt right, and yeah.
Awesome. Well,
if good.
people want to check out all of your awesome stuff on the interwebs, especially that YouTube channel, how do they find you? How do they connect with you?
Well, let's see. I guess if you go to YouTube and just search Linda Nicole Blair, you'll find me. I'm also on SoundCloud, Linda Nicole Blair at SoundCloud, Bandcamp. I'm on Reverb Nation. I'm kind of like saturating the web. Isn't that ridiculous? It's like I am so there. Yeah. Oh my God. It's hilarious. But yeah. So, and then on Facebook. I'm also on Facebook. So Linda Nicole Music on Facebook.
I was going to say, yep, that one's a little bit different. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, as always, super awesome to talk with you. I'm really excited for all the cool stuff that you have going on. So congratulations on all of that.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. It's just, it's like we were saying before about this virus, this whole panic thing that we're going through right now. At first, I didn't think I could do it. And then I realized a few weeks in that we learned that we can do without a lot of stuff. Like,
yeah,
I'm good. I mean, we don't go to the store all the time. I don't need anything. And I'm so thankful and so grateful. And, it just simplifies. My life is simplified.
Yeah. If anything that we get out of the whole situation is that things are going to be, I think, for people a little less complicated because people have learned to adapt. And I guess that's the beauty of the human race is no matter what side of the fence you're always on, at some point you find yourself having to adapt to circumstances that are out of your control. And I think this has probably been one of the bigger tests for humanity in a long time. So I think I got to stay positive. Like I was saying, that we're all going to come out of this with a new perspective on what we truly are capable of.
Yes, totally agree. And I just feel like, I want to be of help to people. I want to do what I can. And the best thing I can do right now is stay home, protect them, protect me, stay home. That's my thing.
Absolutely. So you heard it here, folks. She's got a lot of cool projects in the works. Check out her music, stalk her on social media, buy her stuff on Bandcamp, check out Reverb Nation, go on her Facebook page, you name it. Linda Nicole Blair, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been an absolute honor to have you once again.
Thank you so much, Mike.
And thank you, of course, to all of you listeners out there for continuing to support the cause of sharing music, art, and creativity. Don't forget to follow Misery Point Radio on all those evil social media platforms, the Book of Faces, the Instagrams, the Tweety Twatty Place, and of course, YouTube. And if you got a question or a comment, or maybe there is someone you'd like to see on as a guest, shoot me an email, miserypointradio@gmail.com. And coming soon is the Misery Point Radio cold line, where you can call in and leave me a message, and I'll play it on the show. And now we're going to close this out with a classic tune off LND's first album. This one's called Waiting Out the Gray.
Waiting, I'm waiting out the gray. I'm hoping this fire will burn away. Praying for just a little peace of mind. I'm waiting out the gray. Shaking, I'm shaking down inside. I see lightning bolts across the countryside, falling. My heaven's falling down. I'm waiting, I got no walking. I'm walking in the rain. I hope I ain't losing once again. Wondering if you'll come back to me. I'm waiting, I just can't stand this pain. I'm waiting for the storm to clear. I'm waiting for my angel to wipe my tears. I'm waiting for the morning light to shine. I never wanted you to go, and now the gray has taken hold. I'm waiting out the gray. Why'd I ever let you go? Now I need someone to hold. I'm tired of waiting out the gray. I'm waiting out the gray. I'm waiting out the gray.